सर्वेषां सुप्रभातम्। श्री गुरुगणेशाभ्यां नमः। अतिथि देवो भव, आचार्य देवो भव. I would like to start the session with a quote from Charak Samhita Sutrasthana first chapter. न नामज्ञानमात्रेण रूपज्ञानेन वा पुनः औषधीनां परप्राप्ति कश्चित् एदितुमर्हति. Not only by knowing the names and smell etc. one get the complete knowledge of the herbs. One should get the complete knowledge and also the practical efficacy by various understanding. I hope our Dravyaguna classes are giving the same. Now, before starting the session, I would like to go through the few basic instructions to be followed throughout the session. Filling your full name along with your roll number to be displayed is appreciated. For uninterrupted class session, use a laptop or a mobile phone with a high-speed internet connection. Please make sure your microphone is on mute to make a disturbance-free session. In case of any disturbances, check your internet connection firstly, and then if there is any problem with our net, kindly raise the issue in the chat box. Any question raised in the chat box will be addressed at the end of the session. Participants are not required to share the Zoom ID and the password if there is so strictly prohibited for the future classes. Here, I am feeling very happy and privileged to welcome our today's speaker, Professor Dr. Ilanjalian Sir, MD PhD. Sir completed his study from our Ayurveda College, Coimbatore. He did his post-graduation ALN Rao Memorial Ayurveda College, Koppa, Karnataka. He also holds his PhD from IPGT and RA, Jamnagar, Gujarat. Now, currently, he is the principal medical superintendent in Emmanuel Ayurveda Medical Hospital, Kanyagari. Presented paper in national and Sir is the chief editor of Ayurpharm, an international journal of Ayurveda and Allied Health Sciences. And as I told already, we are going to explore the view in a more practical approach. I cordially invite Professor Dr. Ilanjalian MD PhD for enlighten us of modern parameters and texts in cultivation, propagation, pharmacology of Ayurvedic drugs to attain our Siddhi, which is none other than Amaya Nivritti, Roga Nivritti. Kartika, Swagatam Avad.
Thank you, Vairamuthu. Okay, so very good morning to you all. So we have completed 2 sessions, say about the cultivation methods of commonly used drugs. Okay, in the continuation of that, so briefly we will complete the Maricha, and we are going to enter into the endangered species. So what are the endangered species, and what are the common cultivation methods, and what are the importance to cultivate about the endangered species, and some few drugs about the cultivation about the some few endangered species we are going to discuss today. Okay, so Maricha, you all know it is a very commonly used drug, and it is also one of the kitchen item. So in every home we can see it is a Maricha will be available, and especially in Tamil Nadu, it is a recipe rasam. So it is a very common. It is one of the main ingredient in the rasam. Okay, so that much important it is there. Apart from that, you can see in many formulations, especially in lehyas and all, as a praksheba dravya, the maricha is added in that. Okay, so maricha, you know that it is a piper. Nigrum is a family of Piperaceae. Just briefing about the maricha. Okay, so we have to discuss a lot about the endangered species today. So I am just fastly I will just go through this thing. Maricha is the king of spices. You all know that one. So usually it used to grow commonly in the Kerala state. Okay, and in the trade it used to called as a black gold. Okay, in the trade is known as a black gold. So that much potency is there in the trade as a commodity. So piperine is one of the important chemical constituent. You all know that in the previous session also, in the Pippali also we have discussed, in the Pippali also the piperine is available there. Piperine is one of the main important chemical constituent for us. So it will help us to the digestion as well as the assimilation of the nutrients to our body. Okay. So I know that Rasaguna Viri Vipaka Rasa is Kadu, Guna is a Lagu Tikshna, Ushna Viriam Kadupaka. Mainly it is a Kapha Vada Shamaka in nature. So we'll say Doshagnada, it is a Kapha Vada Shamaka. So again, it is a fresh one as well as the dried one. The qualities are different. So the Rasa is Kadu, the both, and the Guna, there is a variation. In the fresh one, it is Gru, while the dried one is the Lagu Tikshna. Virya is the Ushna Virya, but the fresh one is not that much very Ushna. Vipaka is Kadu Vipaka, and the fresh fruits are Madra Vipaka in nature. So there is a variation is there. And in general, we are using the dried one, not the fresh one for the medicinal purposes. And Doshagna is the Kapavada Shamaka, you know. This is the quotation from Prakasha Nigandu. So very clearly mentioned about the indication, what are the Rasagunaviri Vipakas and all. So these are the main important karmas of Maricha, Deepana, Vada Shamana, Pittakaraka, and Swasahara, Shulahara, Trimigna, Ruchikara, Medohara, and Tirudrohara. These are the main karmas. And Sweda Janana as well as the Mutra Janana Lekaniya. And it can be given in the condition of Arsha, Kasa, insect bite, and the Gandhashula, Harma, etc. and all. And it is given in the dose of 250 milligrams to 1 gram. Okay, so it is already told, it is one of the ingredient of so many formulations like Trikada Churna, Marichadi Gudiga, Marichadi Taila, Marichadi Churnam, and Vyoshadi Gugulu, etc. etc. Okay. So important chemical constants already we discussed the piperine. Apart from that, it has having so many chemical constants has been separated, and chavishin and piperidine, essential oils, keratin, and so many are isolated. And piperine already told it is helpful in the digestion as well as the assimilation of the nutrients in our body. So these are like the weight management support also it will helpful, and the it will increase the bio availability, and as additional benefits piperine may provide other benefits such as supporting the digestive system and maintaining the healthy breathing patterns. So healthy breathing patterns, it may also helps to manage joint conditions, stomach ulcer also. So easy breathing pattern also it will be helpful. Swasa Kasahara properties also it is having. Apart from that, this piperine is often it is usually it is combined with the vitamin C also. So while we are giving the vitamin C, it is combined with vitamin C also. Okay, for the to increase its digestive capacity. Okay, so these are some important pharmacological activities like antioxidant, anti-cancerous activity, anti-inflammatory, immunomodulatory, bioavailability enhancer, digestive activity, etc. and all. So, well, coming to the discussion, well, the types we are saying it is only two types we can say. It's a Purvi Marichi and Dakshini Marichi. So, Purvi means you know that is a north, and Dakshini means you know it is a south. Okay, so obtained from north it is known as a Purvi Marichi, and obtained from south it is Dakshini Maricha. Okay, so these are the two major types based on its cultivation where it is growing. Okay. So, and in market we can see black pepper, white pepper, green, red, and pink pepper and all. So it is commonly available in market. In the hotel also you can see the white pepper and all. And for so many food preparations, they used to use the different types of peppers. Okay, so black, white, green, red, and pink. Okay, so these are the varieties. So you can see the pictures over here in the pink, green, and the different varieties of marriage. Okay, so the types, if you are seeing the black pepper, it is everything, it is based on the process. So the processing method only, it is giving the types. So black, white, and green and all. So black pepper, it is the fruit has to be collected in the green state in the unripened condition, and it has to be cooked in the hot water, and after that it has to be dried in sunlight. So because of that, we can see the shrinkens also in the outer cover, and the wrinkled black layer also we can see. And in some conditions they used to dry directly in sunlight without boiling also. It is also in practice nowadays. This is the black pepper. So the black pepper used to collect during the unripened condition and still green condition they used to collect it. Okay, next one is the white pepper. So white pepper is the ripe fruit. The fruit has to be collected during after ripening condition. It has to be collected. So after that, you by the retting method or any mechanical pressure, they used to remove the outer cover. So by the rubbing method and all, so they used to remove the outer cover. So based on removing the outer cover, so inner surface it will be in white in color. So that is called as the white pepper. This is because of its removing the outer cover, it is resembles like in white. So that is called as a white pepper. So okay, so it is used in some food items, especially in Thai, Chinese, and the Portuguese cuisines you can see, and it will give somewhat a different flavor when compared to the black pepper. So that's why they used to use it for some food items. So green pepper. So the green pepper used to collected during the unripened condition. So the fruit used to be collected during the unripened condition. So when it is in green state, so they used to maintain the green color by sulfur dioxide canning or freeze drying method. So by this method, they used to keep the green color. So for vinegar also they used to use to preserve it. So they used to maintain and preserve its color, green color. So that is known as the green pepper. Okay, these fruits is collected during the unripened condition. So red peppercorn. So red peppercorn, it is a ripened fruit. When it is ripe, fully ripe, it will be in reddish in color. So the full ripened fruit used to keep in as the previous method. What they used to do is the sulfur dioxide canning and freezing drying method. So by that method, they used to preserve it to maintain the color. So red color. So this is the red peppercorn. So next one is the pink peppercorn. So usually in some foreign countries, it is they are using it as a pepper, but it is not actually. It is from the Pipereaceae member. So these Sinus mole as well as the Sinus terebinthifolius. So these all are the plant species from the Anacardiaceae member. So Anacardiaceae family. So okay, this is we have to be very careful. So you know that Anacardiaceae family member used to give some irritation like cashew and balataka, you know, this will give the irritation locally. Likewise, the Sinus terebinthifolius, these species also will give the irritation. So you have to be very careful. So this is the pictures of these species from Anacardiaceae. So the fruit is somewhat resembles like pepper. So that's why they have told us a pink pepper, but this comes from the different family, so we have to be very careful in this. And these are the types. And the pharmacological activities, if you see, already I have quoted, so it has been so many pharmacological activities have been proved, and still there are work is going on in this. And while seeing the cultivation, so usually we can see the cultivation in Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. Okay, so usually nowadays they are preferring the organic farming. So organic cultivation of maricha is a trend nowadays. So because of the pesticides and other fertilizers, definitely it will cause some side effects. So because of that, the pepper is organic farming is preferably is good nowadays. Okay, so usually the areas which is a sloping area, it is good, and in the hill area, mainly the water should not be lodged much, and we have to be very careful if it is a slope area. And chemical cultivation from the other land. So the chemical which is used in other land, there may be chances to enter into this field also. So you have to be very careful while in the organic farming. So you have to be very careful while the drainage from the other field. Okay. So the varieties, there are different varieties of that, and based on the cultivation. So Panniyur 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the Krimunda, Kottannam, Supakara. So likewise, there are so many varieties based on its cultivation. So these are the varieties. So mainly the varieties given by the cultivation to give the yield. So based on the yield, they are giving the varieties they used to prefer, which one is good for the cultivation and all. So Panniyur 1 variety is a hybrid variety. It is spread well in the trees. It gives extra yield. So the first one, what we told the Panniyur 1, it is the best because it gives the more yield rather than the other varieties. And one more, the 5, the Panniyur 5, it is a shadow tolerant variety. Okay, so it's generally suitable to grow in the areca nut gardens. So usually it used to be best to cultivate in the areca nut gardens, the Panur 5. So these are the yield per hectare and per vine. So each variety is how much yield it will give. So they have, I have mentioned in this slide. And the soil and climate. So mountainous area like Kanyakumari, Nilgiris, Kilbawani is the best suitable place for cultivation of Piper nigrum maricha. Grows well in drained area. In clay, sandy lands, the crop does not grow well. So we have to be very careful. The soil selection, it will be, we have to be very careful. The clay, sandy lands, the crop won't grow well. Okay. So if the soil pH also it is important. So 4.5 to 6.6 is the better for the cultivation of maricha. It needs rain as well as the high temperature. So the altitude 1500 meter is suitable for its cultivation. The season usually the June to December uh, is the best for cultivation of the maricha, and breeding mainly it is to be cultivated by the vein cutting method. So the vein cutting method, by cutting the vein, we can cultivate like Guduchi and all. So this is also is cultivated by the vein cutting method. Okay, so we have to maintain the proper space between the trees, between the plant, and 2 to 3 nodes will be there in the vein cutting. So we have to be very careful in that. So at least 2 to 3 nodes will be there, should be there in the vein cutting. Okay, so this is the cultivation methods. And manure also it is important, and the drainage area also we have to be very careful, and we have to maintain the distance between the plant, one plant to another, that is also very important. And for the supportive plant, so that is we have to be very careful, and supportive plants it is necessary for the marriage. Okay, so especially the spined drumstick, silver oak, so these are the plants used for the supporting, for the climbing this plant. Okay, so intercropping cultivations also can be done in the coconut as well as the areca nut field also. This can be cultivated. Okay, so 3 years to 4 years before planting seedling pepper vines, the climber tree. So for example, already told the climber tree, it has to be started growing before 3 to 4 years. Okay, so sloping soil and water conservation measures in the areas of sufficient size to take when preparing the land. So these are we have to be very careful while cultivation. And the rainy season is the best. We told the June, July, we can do the cultivation. For 1 hectare, we can plant 1,600 stem cutting. It is possible to cultivate in the spacing of 2.5 into 2.5 meters. Okay, mulching, we have to careful the mulching we have to do with the dried leaves. We can do the mulching, and the bio manure like vermiform compost, farmyard manure can be given. And the lime, one more important point here is the lime. Okay, so the lime has to be given 500 grams per plant for at least 2 years once we have to give. Okay, the 500 grams of lime should be given. So lime is, it is important for its cultivations, growing. Okay, and the pruning, so pepper vine tips can be pinched to improve the lateral branch growth. So that is important. So otherwise it used to grow in high. So if you are doing the pruning, so again it used to turn downwards. So it is easy for collecting the harvesting the peppers. So you have to be very careful in this. And yield from 2 to 3 kg of dried pepper in one vine per year can be we can collect from the one vine. Okay, so that is the yield of the pepper. Okay, so this is all about the pepper. Just I'm fast forwarded the pepper. So what are the common cultivation methods and all? Okay, so next we are going to enter into the endangered species. So what all are the endangered species and how it has to be cultivated? So this is very important nowadays. So the commonly used drug we are getting at least nowadays, but the most of the plants we are not at all getting nowadays because of it is endangered. Okay, so we will enter into that. So there is one good news. Yesterday there was an important MOU was signed between the NMPB, so National Medicine Plant Board, Ayush Ministry and the herbal industry bodies. So this MOU was signed yesterday, so you can Google it, so you can get the message. So this is very one important agreement. Why? Because for cultivation of the medicinal plants, the farmers are not getting the adequate or expected money from the cultivation. So that is the main drawback. And also it is based on the market. So if it is yield is more, we won't get the price and all. So here, based on this MOU, so the farmers can sell the cultivated materials, the raw drugs, directly to the herbal industries. So for especially in the Ayurveda pharmaceutical industries, they can sell directly. So for that, the NMPB as well as the Ministry of Ayush, they have put one MOU yesterday. So it is a very good initiation by the central government, the Ministry of Ayush. So this will definitely helps the farmers. So they will also get some good money if they cultivate the medicinal plants. So still now there is a lot of difficulties while cultivation of the herbal drugs. The rate, the fixation of the rate is the main problem. So instead of getting the farmers, those who are doing the business in betweens like brokers and intermediators, they are earning the money than the farmers. So that was the problem. So this MOU will definitely will helps the farmers, and they will get the money directly from the pharmaceutical industries. So the central government will help for that, we hope. Okay. So this is what the MOU yesterday signed between the NMPB and the Ayush Ministry with the nutraceutical and the herbal industry. Okay. Okay, so IUCN. So there is one important word I used to say, the IUCN. So International Union for Conservation of Nature. So IUCN red listed plants. So it is very commonly mentioned word in the Dravaguna as well as the pharmaceutical industry and also the herbal industry. So IUCN red listed plants. So if you search in Google also, you will get a lot of plants. What are the red listed plants, you will get it. Okay, so the IUCN, it was founded in 1964 initially, and it is the world's most comprehensive inventory. So this is one of the organization in the world international level. So they are monitoring the conservation of the nature as well as the natural products. That is the IUCN red listed plants, you will get it. Okay, so this is the one of the main organization. So based on that IUCN, so total 560 plant species in India have been included in that list. So International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources red listed threatened species. 560 plants are included under the red listed threatened species. So out of that, 247 species are in threatened category. So highly threatened category. Apart from the 560, 247 species are highly threatened nature. So we have to cultivate. So there is no other source because it is an endangered and threatened list. So this is the list by IUCN. This is also some years back list. So this is not the recent one. So if you see the recent list, so definitely it may be more than 560 and 247. Okay, so especially in South India, so around 200 species are in endangered list they have mentioned based on the NGOs and IUCN report. Apart from that, around 88 species is conserving is going on in tropical botanical garden of Palo, Trivandrum. So they are trying to conserve some species, around I think 88 species they are conserving it. And most 200 species are as per in South India itself, there are 200 species are in a critical condition. On a global basis, so if you see, it is only in the South Indian status, and if you are going for the international level, around 12.5% of vascular plants are in endangered list. Okay, so under the threatened condition. For example, so approximately 34,000 species are under varying degrees of threat. So this is the report of 2002. So this is the report of 2002. So we are 8 years after that. So definitely it may be near 50,000 also. There may be chances are there. So that much utility also increasing day by day and every year. In the first session, I have discussed about the global trend, how much it is utilized in the market, the herbal raw drugs and all. So by if you are calculating that one, so definitely nowadays the threatened list will be more than that 34,000. The percentages also will be more. Okay, so they're based on that growth area, the rate of decline, population size, area of geographic distribution, degree of population, distribution fragmentation. There are 9 groups of categories have been given for the endangered species. Okay, so based on this rate of decline, population size, area of geographic distribution, degree of population and distribution fragmentation. Based on this criteria, there are 9 categories that have been given by the IUCN, that is extinct, extinct in the world, critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, near threatened, least concerned, data deficient and not evaluated. So these are the categories given by the IUCN based on its threatened nature. Based on its endangered nature, it has been given the categories. So we'll see one by one. The extinct means no known individual remaining. So no known individual remaining, and the extinct in the wild, known only to survive in captivity or as a naturalized population outside its historic range. So extinct is we can't find out that particular species. So that is the extinct, totally gone. So extinct in the wild, somewhere, some places, if we can see some few species. So that is extinct in the wild, critically endangered. So critically endangered, so extremely high risk of extinction in the world. So endangered is high risk. So critically endangered is extremely high risk. So vulnerable, high risk of endangered in the wild. So near threatened, it's likely to become endangered in the near future. So in forthcoming years, so it will be also in the critical condition. So least concern, lowest risk, does not qualify for a more at risk category. Widespread and abundant taxa are included in this category. So data deficient, some of the drug may not be assessed fully or evaluated fully, and not evaluated. Again, these are the criteria based on its threatened condition. So based on given by the IUCN. So these are the one diagrammatic chart. So in the down, so all the species can be divided into two, that is evaluated and not evaluated. So evaluated means, that is studied for its efficacy or morphologically somewhat identified, that is evaluated. So not evaluated means still there are a lot of species is not evaluated. So not at all identified and not at all studied for its medicinal properties also. Okay, so again, evaluated is divided into two, that is a data deficient. Some evaluated drugs also, still there may be some deficient in the data, and only the adequate data. Then some plants may have the adequate data. Again, that is divided into extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, and least concern and near threatened. So these all are the only, if you study evaluated only, we can get an idea in which condition it can be given and etc. So this is one diagrammatic chart from up to down. So it is a very in down it is somewhat okay, and upper if you are going above, it is again it is an endangered list. So it is a critically, it is not available nowadays. So based on this category, it has been based on the availability, it has been given this categories by the IUCN. Okay, so if you see the list, so it is a very big list. So I am quoting very few of that. So the Bilba and Celestus paniculata and Gugulu and Bacopa monari, Jingo biloba, Glyceriza glabra, the Surya lapa, Social chirata, Pinospora cardicolia. These all are the plants which are under the threatened conditions. So this is very few list I have quoted here. It is a very big list actually. This is a report 2014, published in the 2014 report. Again, after 6 years, there may be a chances of more list under the threatened condition. Okay, so this is the report of 2014, and these are some another report of in different plants in the different condition. So Amla, Ashoka, Ashwagandha, and Bilva, Bhumya Malaki, Brahmi, Chandana, and Socia Chireta, and Daru Haritra. These are all the plants, and Guduchi, Gugulu, Isabgo, Jadamanshi, Kalamega, Keshara, Kokum, and Pipali. Even Pipali is also in that list. So these all are the threatened state. So these all are the plant under the threatened list. Even the Tulasi is also under the condition. The Vayu Vidangam, that is also in low risk, near threatened, going to be a threatened condition. And Vatsanaba is a critically endangered. So these all are the report from by the FRST and NMPB and Manivel and Reddy. These are the report given by 2015. So this is the report of 2015, and there are there is a big list. So if you go through in the net, you can get it. What are the endangered species? So you can start cultivating in that particular plant. So you will definitely get some benefit also. So if you are having some land and if it is possible to cultivate, so definitely you can go for that. So in the next session, we will discuss about what are the scope of the cultivation that we are going to discuss in the next class. Okay. So these are the again the banned for the drugs. Some of the drugs has been banned for the exporting. So Sarpagandha, Raktachandana, Agaru, Kaduki, Trayamana, Kiradatikta, Jadamamshi, Ativisha, Vatsanaba. So these are the drugs totally banned for its exporting. Why? Because so already it is in endangered list. So if you are doing the exporting and all, they allow the permission to the exporting. So definitely they will remove the totally from the India. So that's why they are banned the exporting drug. And conservation. So what are the steps we have to take for the conservation? So that is important. So we have to be very, it is need of an hour, we can say. So measures for conservation. So government should encourage the traditional methods of conservation of forest. So even government has to start the initiation. So based on that, the conservation, the cultivation, so they have did on MOA also that I told yesterday, and in situ and the ex situ conservation. So in situ and the ex situ conservation we have to be, we have to start. So in situ conservation we have to do, as well as the ex situ conservation through medicinal plant gardens, artificial regeneration of botanical gardens, and etc. We have to do conserve the endangered species. Okay, so creation of medicinal plant gene bank. So we have to create a medicinal plant gene bank. So why? Because if you are having the gene bank, so in future also we can cultivate with that gene, we can cultivate the plant, the species we can be possible to cultivate, and we can propagate that plant. So proper assessment of population size, mapping, and biology of threatened plants. So we have to be we have to study the analyze what are the threatened plants and how it has to be conserved. To popularize the potential avenue of medicinal plants among local farmers for their commercial cultivation. This is a main important role for the conservation. So we have to teach the local farmers to start cultivation of the medicinal plants, to propagate the medicinal plants. So that is a main thing, and we have to educate them also, so we will get the good earning also in this, and we have to, even the government also will do the sufficient protocols for the buyback policies and all to get the proper value of the cultivation to the farmers. So by that we can able to conserve the endangered species. And also regular training also will helpful to the farmers to cultivate and harvest the endangered species, and all the details, the dissemination of all the related knowledge. So all the details about the cultivation and the importance of the cultivation. So the market demand, everything has to be published through print and the electronic media to give the awareness to the farmers as well as the local cultivators. So by that we can do the conservation. So medicinal plants conservation, so we can do categorize into two. So in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. So in situ conservation, that is a biosphere reserves, medicinal plant conservation areas. So in situ, ex situ is in situ means the where actually it is to grow, that is the in situ. Ex situ means apart from that original place where and all it can be cultivated, that is the ex situ conservation. That is a simple explanation we can say. So in situ conservation means the plant where it used to grow naturally, that is the in situ conservation, and the ex situ conservation, so where it can be possible to preserve and where we can able to conserve the particular species. So that is the thing. So in the in situ, we can the medicinal plant conservation areas we can fix in the particular area, wild area and the forest. We can fix an area and we can close the circle. So even the livestock and animals should not enter. Like we can protect from the area from even entering to the humans also, by that we can preserve. And the ex situ, already we told the seed bank, gene bank, the botanical and herbal gardens can be we can give the encouragement to the for to build botanical and the herbal gardens, and home herbal gardens we can insist, and community herbal gardens, medicinal plants conservation parks, cultivation of medicinal plants, field gene banks, and in vitro repositories. So these are the broad category of medicinal plants conservation by in situ as well as the ex situ conservation methods. When I told the in situ conservation, the conservation in the natural habitat. So the conservation in the natural habitat is the in situ conservation. And medicinal plants conservation area, biosphere reserves, and national parks. In these types of area, human interference are restricted. So especially I told in the previous slide, the human interference are restricted, and the collection of medicinal plants also restricted, that resulted in conserved medicinal plants. So in the forest and where the plant used to grow, it has to be protected by entering the humans, and we should not collect the medicinal plants also, medicinal part also, the Prayojanga also should not be collected from that particular area, especially the endangered species. If the plant is growing in the particular area, it has to be covered properly and we have to protect. So that is the best way for conservation of the endangered species. And the sacred groves for the holistic plants like Bilva, Ashwata, in the name of sacred growth, it can be cultivated. So in the temples and also we can see the Bilva, Ashwata and all. So based on that, it has not been demolished, it has not cut. So if it is the tree is growing in a temple and all, so usually they won't cut very easily. So if the tree is standing in outside the roadside or somewhere in the forest, so definitely they will uproot the plant. So uproot the plant, especially the Bilva, Ashwata and all, they take the root bark and all. So as the sacred grows, it can be conserved. And cultivation in the forest carried out by the Department of Forest. So those are the endangered species can be cultivated in the forest. By that we can preserve some of the endangered species, especially the Shionaka padala used to grow in the forest. So we can protect the Shionaka padala. So Shionaka padala, and you know that is one of the Brihat Panchamula drugs. Okay, so that is a highly endangered one. So the in the Dashamula, you know, that is the Brihat Panchamula, Lahu Panchamula. The Brihat Panchamula, the Shionaka padala is in the highly threatened condition. Okay, so in the forest also it can be cultivated with the support of Department of Forest. Okay, and the ex situ conservation, so conservation out of their natural habitat. So in situ, ex situ we are saying. So in situ means where it used to grow, natural habitat, and ex situ means apart from the natural habitat, how it can be preserved or conserved. Establishing herbal gardens, theme parks. By the herbal garden and theme park, we can conserve endangered medicinal plants safely for some time. So if we are a protected area, if we are cultivated, so we can prevent for at least for some years, we can protect these species. Encouraging social and urban forestry and avenue plantation by roadside plantation and street plantation, medicinal plants are survived. So in the roadside also we can encourage, especially in the Gujarat, we can see the Saptaparna. So Saptaparna they used to cultivate in the roadside. So we are getting the by cultivating that one we can get the sufficient plants. So instead of cultivating some other ornamental and non-usable plants, so we can cultivate the medicinal plants in the roadside. So it will also helps the pharmaceutical industry. Cultivation is the best method for conservation. So already told the cultivation is the only one way to preserve the endangered species. Okay, so apart from that, we can't protect. So even though we are conserving in the forest in a particular area, this won't sufficient. So we can't collect from that particular area. So only if you are propagating, if you are cultivating more species, more plants, then only we can able to conserve the particular spaces. So cultivation is very, very important nowadays to satisfy the market also. So otherwise, the totally we can't find out in the some spaces in our forthcoming generations. They won't see also. So that is one big question mark in the especially in the Ayush system of medicine. The gene bank. So gene bank already told. So gene bank, the where the gene of the particular plant is stored. So whenever the suitable time and the suitable place, it can be cultivated and it can be propagated in the future generations. Also, it can be possible. So we have to do the gene banks. So if there's some species, if it is totally extinct, so we can't find out in future. So it is very important, like seed banks and gene banks also very important to conserve some species. And some modern techniques also we have to adapt. So like tissue culture method and also very useful for the propagation of in large size. Okay, so tissue culture method will helpful. For example, by the seedling method we can cultivate only one plant from one seed. By the tissue culture method, so we can cultivate thousands of plants can be produced by the small piece of one material, like in leaf or tender leaf. From that part we can get thousands of plants we can be possible to propagate. So the tissue culture method also we have to be followed in these conditions. Okay, and cytopreservation. So this is also one of the important thing. The seed and other propagated material are stored below frozen level in the cytopreservation. Cytopreservation is for some species, if you are not giving care and if you are not cultivating or if you are not conserving the particular species, so it will vanish very shortly. So to prevent that one, so we have to create the seed bank and we have to prepare the gene bank also to preserve its seed and all for the future generations. So this method is useful for plants which has low propagation rate. So the cytopreservation. So the cytopreservation method is also important and need of an hour nowadays. Okay. And our main aim in Ayush system is the integrity, quality, efficacy, and safety of the Ayush system of medicine. So this is our ultimate aim. So we have to increase the integrity and quality, and you have to maintain its efficacy, and you have to maintain its safety of the raw drugs and as well as the finished products. So if you want to expect these qualities in the finished product, so it is very important to maintain the raw drug. So we have to get the quality as well as the quantity in the raw drugs. So we have to get sufficient quantity as well as the quality also is needed, should contain the raw drugs. So then only we can expect the efficacy, quality, integrity as well as the safety of Ayush system in future. So for that, the ultimate aim is the cultivation. Okay, sustain and enhance the cultivation of medicinal plants is the only way to get a efficient Ayush system of treatment. So this is very important. So by the cultivation, we can improve the quantity as well as the quality of the raw drugs, and by that we can improve the integrity and quality, and we can maintain the efficacy and the safety of the Ayush system of medicine. And next slide is promotion strategies. So what all are the promotion method we can able to do in the medicinal plants cultivation. The incentives, so the incentives has to be reached properly to the farmers. So channelizing the incentives available from various sources through single platform. So usually there are different subsidized methods are given and issued by the central government for cultivation of the herbal plants. So it has to be reached to the particular farmers or the cultivators. So then only they will do the work properly. So we have to channelize that one, the incentives and subsidies, so reach to the farmers properly, and this will help the farmers to give the encouragement, also enthusiasm also to cultivate the medicinal plants, and promoting the good agriculture and collection practices. So you all know that GMP, I think each and everyone know about the very commonly like known word GMP, so good manufacturing practices. Likewise, so in cultivation also it is there, good agricultural and collection practices. So we have to follow and we have to promote the GSCPs, so like good agricultural and collection practices we have to follow to get to conserve the medicinal plants, to improve the cultivation and propagation. And initiation and affirmation of cluster, self-help and cooperative models. So these all are the methods in the small farmers and NGOs and the small clusters where they have to made. By that we have to improve its cultivation and the propagation of the medicinal plants. And even from the private sector also they have to give the sufficient investment in the, they have to do the investment in the cultivation. So each and everyone has to start the cultivation, so then only we can able to, we can sustain, we can preserve the medicinal plants and we can propagate the medicinal plants. Okay, the gaps between the producers, collectors, and traders, the buyers, or the need of the minimum. So this is one of the important point. In the first session, I told so how the collected drug from the forest or the cultivated drug from the field, how it is reached to the pharmaceutical industry. So it has to cross the so many levels, like local buyers, after that district level buyers, then wholesale marketers, then it has to be go to the traders, like different steps it has to cross. So by that, so each and everyone they used to keep some margin. So they want the price also will increase. So for 10 rupees if they are cultivating, so it will reach to the pharmaceutical industry at 100 rupees. So many barriers it has to cross. So we have to reduce the gap between the producers, collectors, traders, as well as to the pharmaceutical industry. So by that, even they also used to get the sufficient medicines, sufficient raw drugs, and the quality product also they will get, and even the farmers also they used to get the sufficient benefit also by directly selling to the industry. Preservation and application of local and cultural knowledge and the use of these resources. So this is one of the very important point. We have to follow the local and cultural knowledge. So in the olden days also they used to predict by this climate the rain may come. So in this season we have to cultivate this food item also, for example the rice and groundnut or whatever it may be. So the even the food purpose also our ancestors even and agriculturists they predict. So in this season only it has to be cultivated. If the clouds are like this, the rain may come. So the predictions will be there. That is the local and cultural knowledge. So we have to give a respect to the local and cultural knowledge, and we have to adapt and we have to follow the knowledge. We have to get the knowledge from them, and we have to utilize that one. And by that we can give some modern techniques also we can utilize. By that we can propagate more plants to meet the pharmaceutical industry. Investments are needed for the development of appropriate conservation, cultivation, and harvesting strategies. So already told, even the private sector also they have to invest in this. And these are the public cooperative societies also they have to give the concentration in the cultivation, etc., etc. So consumption level. So promote the consumption level of raw drugs in the industrial, domestic and export segment by promoting the good practices, branding and the best possible IEC. So institutional ethical clearance strategies that has to be, we have to maintain. So then only we can get the quality of medicines. Okay. So end-to-end approach covering production, post-harvest management, processing and marketing to make medicinal plants cultivation on par with other commercial crops. So how we are giving the importance to the other commercial crops like paddy, sugarcane, and also we have to give importance to the medicinal plants also. So only if you are fixing the rate and proper cultivation methods, if you are following, then only we can get the yield and we will get the profit. So we have to give importance to the medicinal plants also, while like in the commercial crops, we have to give the importance. And value addition. So usually, so if you are giving the drug as it is, you won't get it, the value. So we can do in the cultivation in detail in the next session, we will discuss in detail what are the scope, what are the value addition, and all we will discuss in the next session. So instead of giving the fresh material, the roots, leaves, and all, so if we are giving it as a phytomedicine or the standardized extract, so we will get more benefit. So you can do even the small industries also available near in Coimbatore, in Pollachi near area. So they are doing the extraction. So many small like cottage industries. We can see so many industries are there in that particular area. So they are doing the extraction. So they are collecting the herbs from the source forest and they are doing the extraction and they are selling the extraction. So by that they are getting the benefit also. So likewise, so we have to increase the value. So by that different steps we have to, in Tamil we can say is the madippu koottudal. So like that we can increase its value. Okay. So this is one broad chart of cultivation of medicinal plants. Okay. So cultivation of medicinal plants. So usually where and all we are getting the medicinal plants. By this we can get an idea. First one is a home garden. So home garden we can cultivate, and from the farmer field it can be possible, and the wild cultivation. So in the home garden, so they can use, if you are having the small home garden, so you can utilize for your purpose. And if you are having the excess, the raw materials, you can sell it to the traders, you can sell it. And from the farmer field, it is to be collected by the farmers and it is to be reached to the traders. And if it is a wild collection, so wild cultivation, it will be by two ways, by ethically, by legally they used to collect, and some places illegally also they are collecting the raw drugs from the forest. So that also we have to be very careful. So we have to make it as a legal. Okay, why? Because so if we are doing the illegally, so they used to demolish and they used to uproot the plant, and if you want a root bark, so only one root bark if you are taking and it won't harm the plant. So if you are uprooting the total plant, so definitely the plant won't sustain in the future. So we have to make the legal collection from the forest also. So by these are the source. From that it will reach to the traders. Again the traders, it reach to the cooperative societies, and directly from traders it used to go to the pharmaceutical and Ayurvedic company also, and some from the local traders to wholesalers it used to go. Okay. From the Ayurvedic industry and the small scale industries it used to go, and retail shops, pharmacies, and international market. So in the two ways it used to go, from the Ayurvedic companies, national market and the international market. In some conditions we are getting the medicines from the middleman and the pharmaceutical and the Ayurvedic companies to international market. From international market again it is coming to the national market. National consumer it is coming back. So by increasing the rate and all. So this is some flow chart from how the medicine and where it is collected and how it is cultivated, how it is reached to the traders, and from there where it is going, like and all. So this is one flow chart. And family wise important. So family wise, these are the species are very important in the commercial. So Fabaceae, Astraceae, Forbiaceae, these are the family. So in forthcoming session also we are going to discuss about that. Okay. So quality of raw drugs medicines. So these all are the things. So already told the GMP, GSCP, and GLP. These all are the words you should be aware about that. What it is. So GSCP means good agriculture and collection practices. Good laboratory practices is GLP, and you know that a GMP is good manufacturing practices. So uncontaminated. So the one more thing. So our aim is the uncontaminated by either synthetic pesticides or by genetically modified organisms and approved by accredited agencies. So it is also very important nowadays. The contamination of the pesticides. So we have to avoid the synthetic pesticides for the raw drugs, especially in the medicinal plants. So GSCP is a good agricultural practice, is perspective of medicinal plants for cultivation program intended to certify optimal yield in requisites of both quality and quantity of any crop proposed for health purposes. So GSCP, you know, the good agricultural practice. Okay, so how the plant has to be cultivated. So very detailedly, and they have given the protocol also how it has to be cultivated, how it has to be collected, everything that they have given the protocol. And GAP, so good agricultural practices, retain cleanliness and hygiene, choice of seeds and planting material through developed the final product, reduce plant contamination with harmful microorganisms and other contaminants such as E. coli and the salmonella, etc. So this is very important role and main principle also we can say for the GAP, good agricultural practice. So these are the some do's and don'ts in the site selection. So we should do, the land should be clean and reliable irrigation water should be there. If you want to do cultivation, so these are the points you should be very careful. The land should be clean and fertile, and the medicinal plants that suits to the particular location land should only be selected. That means we have to select in which soil or which zone, which habitat the particular plant used to grow. So we have to select the plant and we have to select the land. Medicinal plants farming area should be free from pesticides of other hazardous chemical contamination. So this is very important. It has to be away from the other crops. For example, the sugarcane, watermelon, the commercial crops. The medicinal plants crop should be avoided from the some distance we have to maintain. Why? Because nowadays the pesticides is more in the commercial crops. So we have to be give distance from the commercial crops. And the health of the soil, the fertile nature of the soil also we have to maintain. And the cultivation should be avoided. The industrial area, near the industrial area, the medicinal plant should not be cultivated. In the Ayurveda also it is mentioned. So where the medicinal plant should be collected. So in Ayurveda very clearly about mentioned. So near the graveyards, near the in the temple, and in the for example, the ant hill. So where the ant hill is to grow, we should not collect the plant near that places. So very clearly mentioned in Ayurveda. Likewise, the cultivation also we have to select the particular place, the soil, nature, and the habitat. In the habitat, this plant only used to grow. That also we have to be very careful. And preparing the land, that also very important. And require decomposed organic matter. So we have to give, especially the vermiform compost and the farmyard manure. It is suitable instead of the artificial fertilizers and all. Okay. And seed should be from a best known source. The selection of the seed is also very important. And the time of the sowing the and transplanting of the plant is also we have to give importance. Okay, this is also we have to keep it in mind. And irrigation, so irrigation is a very important one. So which type of irrigation is suitable in that place also you have to be careful. And based on your level of the water, so how much water you are having, accordingly you have to select whether you are the irrigation method or sprinkler method, or which method we are going to follow. That also we have to be very careful. And one more thing, and the land area also we have to be very careful. The irrigation from the other commercial crops, the via, for example, in some places the tunnel water they used to get. So we have to be very careful. The water is passing from the commercial crops, so definitely there may be a chance of pesticides and other fertilizers. So we have to be very careful. So if it is in the sloping area also, we have to be careful for the chemical contamination. And you have to use the organic fertilizers and the growth promoters instead of the modern pesticides and recent things. Okay. And weedling, so you have to do the weedling in the proper time. We have to do, then only we can get the proper yield. And instead for the weedling, we should not use the chemical herbicides, should be avoided. So we should not use the chemical herbicides. So why? Because the herbicides and pesticides, it will stay longer time in the raw drag. So in the external, it can be very easily, it can be washed with difficulty, but once it enters into the plant, it is very difficult to wash it out. Okay. So insect and pest control also, we have to use some traditional methods. So instead of using that synthetic pesticides and all, we should avoid definitely. And harvesting, so you have to maintain the proper harvesting time and the harvesting place, harvesting and the drying place, everything you have to be very careful. So where you are going to dry the collected material, how the sack we are using, the container also it has to be clean and moisture free. So then only it is we can store it for a longer time. And the packing materials, it should be clean, dry, and the bags, there should be the moisture content you have to maintain. And packing material also, you have to keep it away from the pest and the livestock and all. Okay. And one more thing is the documentation. So documentation, traceability. So you have to keep on diary and you have to write what all are the what time you have started the cultivation, what all are the menu you have given, and which month you have did the weedling. Everything it has to be written in the diary, so it will helpful for the forthcoming generation. So what all are the methods to be followed for the particular cultivation of the medicinal plants. Okay, so necessary documentation on each and every steps from sowing to marketing of end product, since its traceability is necessary part of GAP. So it is one of the procedure in the GAP. Good agriculture practices also they have instructed to maintain the documentation. So then only it will help for the forthcoming generation. So the farm activities must be well recorded in diary. Details of identifying part and ordinary species should be marked with the pen and harvest tags. So this is very important. And next is the quality planting and seed material. So the seed is a very important for the propagation. So if you have to maintain the seed, for that they have framed a rule also, seed rules in the 1968. Okay, Seeds Act, it is passed in 1968. So you have to follow that Seed Act to maintain the quality of the seeds. So you have to follow that rules and regulation for the seeds. Protection of plant variety and the Farmers' Right Authority as qualified of the seed sample should be accordance with the Indian minimum seed certification standard. So these are some standards for the seeds. So you have to maintain the seed. So you have to select the seed also for the cultivation once it is passed through the IMSCS. Okay, so you have to be very careful in the seed selection. And the seed should be physical purity, genetic purity, germination nature, and moisture content, seed health. So these all are the parameters has to be determined the seed standard. So the germination nature also, it used to germinate properly and should not contain the moisture content. This everything is determined the standard of the seed. And the pesticides, always use the organic pesticides, and especially in the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University and the Japan Agriculture Standards. So this is one of the standard they are using for the organic medicinal plants farming, and even TNAE also they are having the organic medicinal plant farming procedure protocols also they are following. And another protocols we can say is JAS, Japan Agriculture Standards. So these are the standard methods for the organic plant formation. So some menus, so already you know that Panchagavya and all, so these we can use instead of the modern pesticides and synthetic one. Instead of that we can use this one. Okay, Sanjeevaka, Jiva Amrita, Amritapani, Panchagavya, so these all are we can use. So these all are the ingredients, how the Sanjeevaka and Jiva Amrita and Amritapani and Panchagavya has been prepared. So you will get the methods also. So instead of going for the artificial things, this is a good one. this will give the good nutrition also. You can get some references in Vriksha Ayurveda also about this natural pesticides and nourishment tonic also mentioned in Vriksha Ayurveda. If time permits, we will see some points in Vriksha Ayurveda in the forthcoming classes. Okay, and biopesticides. So one more thing in the biopesticides we can use. So biopesticides, and last session itself we have discussed about the BT brinjal. So Bacillus thuringiensis, like biofungicides we can use. So Trichoderma viridae and the Bacillus thuringiensis likewise. The biopesticides can be used. This is a good bacteria, so they will kill the other infection caused by the another fungi or bacteria it will be. So by this we can prevent from the pest and other infections of the medicinal plants. So this is the some collection time of the medicinal plants. So when some here I am putting some of the important medicinal plants when it should be collected. So that is also very important. So if you are collecting the medicinal plants in the mentioned time period, then only we will get the sufficient quantity of the chemical constituent of the particular drug. For example, aloe vera should be collected, can be collected throughout the year. And ashwagandha, usually it has to be collected during the January to February. And baguchi should be collected during mid-December onwards to the end of February. And cowhead should be collected December, January and February. And gugulu, the November, but before April it has to be collected. Isabgol should be collected in the March, and the Kalamega September. So this is the collection time of the particular plants, and the licorice November to December. So 3 to 4 years subsequent of planting. So and the year and not only the month, we have to keep it in mind, and the growing period also. That also we have to be very careful. The spikes will ready for harvest after 2 months after formation of the plants and spikes 3 to 4 times a year. So the duration also we have to be careful, and the specific time month also we have to be very careful. And something it is mentioned after flowering immediately we have to collect. So these all are we have to follow our Ayurvedic pattern also. We can follow the traditional method also, very important to follow to get the quality drugs. So then only we can in modern, if you say if you want the sufficient chemical constants, it has to be collected in the particular time period, and after particular time duration of the growth, it has to be collected. So especially the bark collection, if you are saying, so bark means you all know that is a bark, which is bark. So usually the collection, it is very important. So up to which level it has to be collected, it has to be removed from the tree. The secondary external tissues lying outside the cambium in stem or root of dicotyledons plants are known as bark. So outside the cambium area, it is known as the bark. And we have to be educate to the collectors in the forest and those who are collecting in your field. So you have to give the education to the particular person to how to collect the bark. Okay. So according to pharmacognosy or commercially, bark consists of all the tissues outside the cambium. So you have to be very careful. The cambium is the main point. So you have to collect away from the cambium area, has to be collected. So this is one cross section of the bark. Okay, so in between, first we can see the hardwood, sapwood, and the vascular cambium. So the green color layer you can see, this is a cambium. So away apart from the cambium, the parts which is after the cambium, for example, the bark, that is consists of the bark, and the bark is consists of two parts, the living phloem and cork. Okay, so the bark is consisting of phloem as well as cork, the living phloem and periderm. So periderm, it is nothing but the cork cambium and cork. So the green color, that is the vascular cambium. We should not cut the vascular cambium. So if you cut the vascular cambium, the nutrition which is supplying from the root to other parts, it will be hampered. So there is a chance of plant maybe die after if you are cutting the vascular cambium totally. So this is, we have to educate the collectors very carefully. So these all are the, you have to collect up to this level only. Okay. So and also one more thing is the correct method of bark collection is we have to collect it from the longitudinal. Okay. So no, up to down, not the whole surrounding. So if you are collecting from upside down, so it will heal sometimes and it will reform after some period. So you can see the first picture and second picture. The first one is the collected one. The second one, after a period of time, it will reform. Okay. So this is the method of collection of bark. This is the wrong method. So here you can see. So they have collected the not from the longitudinal. They have collected the whole circumference. They have cut the bark. So what will happen is there may be a chances of the nutrition, it won't cross from this cut portion to the above portion. So definitely the plant will die if you cut in this pattern. So you have to be very careful. So for your small purpose also, if you are collecting the bark, there may be a chance. So you please follow these instructions. So this is the correct method of cutting the bark. So you have to cut like this manner, and after the cambium, so you have to collect after the cambium part only, you have to collect for this. Okay. And these are the some international collection methods and rules and regulations for the collection procedures and all they have given for the ISSC, MAP, Europom, EMEA, and the WHO also given some certain rules and regulations for collection. And you have to follow the GAP, good agriculture practices, and good collection, harvesting, and post-harvest handling practices, good laboratory practices you have to follow, good clinical practices, and the GMP. And one more thing is a good marketing techniques, so GMP. So these everything you have to be very careful, and you have to follow these rules and regulations. Okay. So these are the different rules and regulations given by the different authorities from 1997 to 2003. It has been very well explained. And what are the plant cultivation, what are the quality monitoring in the raw material production. So we have to be very careful. Plant cultivation, plant collection, so raw material handling, primary processing, secondary processing, and storage. So this is a GMP, you have to standardize in each and every level, starting from the cultivation up to storage. We have to maintain the standard parameters to get an standardized raw material. So then only we will get the standardized treatment in the system of medicine. Okay, so this is on quality is the synonymous of safety. So we have to maintain the quality in each and every aspect. And there may be a contamination chances are from pesticide residue, heavy metals, and the mycotoxins. So these all are the main major contaminations. So we have to be very careful. And these all are the main pharmacies, and how much the turnover they are doing in per year also it has been mentioned very clearly. Okay, so we will discuss some Ayurvedic plants. Okay, so what are the endangered species? So in till now we have discussed about the common methods and what are the procedures has to be followed for the cultivations, collection, and what are the steps has to be taken for the conserving and propagating, etc. Okay, so now we will discuss some few plants about the endangered plant and what are the cultivation methods we will see. Okay, so Dashamula, you all know, very commonly used drug in Ayurveda. So some important formulations also, Dashamula, Rishtam, Chanaprasham, etc., etc. is Dashamula is one of the ingredient above said formulations. But there's a big question mark what we are using in market nowadays. Instead of the Dashamula, in the Dashamula, we should not use as per the government rules and regulations. We should not use the root bark. Okay, so nowadays we are using only the Dashathak instead of the Dashamula. We are not using the Mula, we are using the Thok only. So bark only we are using in the Dashamula. And also still we are having a big question mark in formulations whether they are adding at least the Dashamula bark or instead of that they are adding some other or inert material, or they are adulterating, that also in big question mark. So we have to be evaluated. So that is one big question mark in the pharmaceutical industry, what we have to be keep it in mind. So because of the non-availability, and we are using the stem bark instead of the root bark. And in the stem bark also, where we have to be very careful whether they are adding the stem bark of the particular Dashamula or some other. Okay, that also we have to be very careful. So Dashamula means, that is a Brihat and Lahu Panchamola, the combination of Brihat and Lahu Panchamola, right? So Brihat Panchamola is Bilva, Agnimanda, Shionaka, Padal and Gamba. Okay, so Bilva is the Agil Narmelos, Agnimanda is Premna integrifolia, and Shionaka is Ora Trailum indicum, and Padala Stereosperma surveillance. Gambari is Emelina arborea. So these all are the Brihat Panchamula. So especially in the Lahu Panchamula it's also available nowadays. So in the Brihat Panchamula is the big endangered species nowadays. So it is not at all getting, and we have to start cultivation of this Brihat Panchamula immediately with the support of government or whatever it may be. So it is a need of an hour. Okay, so this is the Lahu Panchamula. So cultivation of nowadays the substitution of the stem bark instead of the root bark we are using. Okay, so in the Brihat Panchamula, especially nowadays there is one cultivation method, that is a HDST, that is a high density short term plantation. High density short term plantation is a method is utilized nowadays for the cultivation of Brihat Panchamula. So by that they are getting very good yield also, and instead of getting for 10 years, 12 years for getting the root bark, by within 2 years they are getting the root bark by this HDST method, high density short term cultivation method. So by the end of the session I will show one video also about this high density short term plantation of Dashamula. Okay, so in the Dashamula we are going to discuss about the Shionaka. So commonly known as the Shionaka is the Oroxylum indicum, Bignonaceae. Mainly the stem bark it is used instead of the root bark nowadays. So okay, why? Because the root bark we should not use nowadays as per the government rules and regulations. Okay, this is the quotation mentioned by the Bhava Prakash Nigandu, and just briefing this thing. So Ganas and Vargas, it is mentioned in the Shotahara. And while seeing the Rasadi Gunas, Madhura Tikta Kashaya Rasa, and the Lagruksha Guna Ushnavirya Kadapaka, and Kapha Vadahara in nature so can be given for the examining the karma of Deepana, Grahi, and all. And it can be kind of given indicated in the condition of Amavata, Adisara, Shota, Vadvyadi, Aruchi, Kasa, and Vastivikaras and all. Okay, Prayojanga officially it is a root bark. Okay, the dosage is 3 to 6 gram and Kashaya means 50 to 100 ml. These are some important formulations like Dashamula Arishta, Dashamula Haridegilegia, etc. etc. Okay, so this is the pod of the Shionaka. So usually in the night you will get a sound because by shaking the fruit you will get the sound. So because of that it got the name Midnight Horror also, this plant. This is the cultivation of Shionaka. So just briefing the cultivation. So the area of selection, it is the best for, it is important for climate and soil. The rainfall should be 85 centimeter to 130 centimeter is important per annum. And the sand select, the mud selection also, sandy, loam, fertile soil is good. And some conditions, the black soil is also good for the cultivation of the Shionaka. In this picture, you can see the seed. Seed is the propagating material. So by seed propagation is best in the Shionaka. So around 80% of 80 to 90% of propagation is possible in the seed germination. The usual period, the best period for cultivation is February to March, and seedling is the second half of March for seedling is the best, and farmyard manure And even the nursery also we have to be very carefully. We have to prepare the sand, loamy soil, and the farmyard manure in the combination of in the ratio of 2:1. We have to mix and we have to do the nursery. So after the nursery, it has to be transplanted into the actual land. So I think 250 grams of seed is sufficient to cultivate the 1 hectare of land. So 250 grams of seed is sufficient to plant the 1 hectare of land. And one more thing, important things, before in the nursery, before putting the seedling, so you have to be soak it for 12 hours for the easy germination. And land preparation also you have to be tilled properly and weed free you have to maintain. And the distance of the transplanting plant between the 2 meter distance we have to be maintained for the proper growth. Okay, so the transplanting time, it is the first week of July is the best period, and the spacing also important for the good yield. Okay, the plant has to be grown in the sole crop. In the we can use as an intercrop also we can do. So after 1 year you can grow some seasonal plants also you can grow in this interspace we can grow as intercropping. These are the some menus as mentioned, the farmer manure and all. And the irrigation method. So irrigation method is also important. At least in the summer we have to give 7 to 10 days gap. We have to give the irrigation, the water supply. Mainly the check basin method is good for the irrigation of Shionaka. So this is the check basin irrigation method. Check basin irrigation method means, so from one side if the water is coming, the like temporary bund they used to prepare, in the gap the water used to flow. And pest control is very important, and mainly there won't be any much pest, there will be a chance of pest attack. Especially in some conditions there may be the leaf eating caterpillars and grasshoppers may affect the plant. You have to be give some natural panchagavya like that, we can spray over that. And termite attack, so the termite attack we have to be checked in oftenly. If the termite attack is there, it will affect the bark, so it will termite may affect the root bark as well as the stem bark, so we have to be very careful. Okay, so the tree starts flowering after 3 years. So usually the plant should uproot only after 6 to 8 years. For the Prayoja anga is the root bark. It has to be uprooted only after 6 to 8 years. So in the month of October to December is the best time for the uprooting the plant. And this is the uprooting techniques. So the root bark contains, so the chemical constants. So nowadays we are using the stem bark instead of the root bark. In some of the chemical constants are present in both stem bark as well as the root bark. For example, the uroxylin and the chesing, these are the chemical constants is available both root bark as well as the stem bark. It is available, so we can use this drug instead of root bark. We can use the stem bark also. And we will get only dried root bark 1 kg from one tree after a proper yield. After 6-year-old tree, we will get maximum 1 kg of dried root bark only we may get. Okay, so this is the calculation how much we will get if it is cultivated properly. So I want to share one important study about the pharmacological activity of Shionaka. Anti-inflammatory activity of root bark and stem bark of Shionaka. So I'm also part of in that research study. So in the Shionaka, we have compared the root bark as well as stem bark. So if there is any variation in the pharmacological activity. Okay, so in that we have selected, already we know that Shionaka is the best drug for Shotahara nature. So the inflammation we can give. So that's why we have selected the anti-inflammatory activity. So carrageen induced anti-inflammatory activity we have selected. Okay, so in that we found there is a significant results in root bark as well as the stem bark. So both we got the result. So only thing, there is some less action we got, but still apart from that, both are having the anti-inflammatory activity. So results showed significant anti-inflammatory activity of root bark and stem bark decoction. So this is the on graph. It shows that the red one, it is shows the red bark decoction, sorry, root bark decoction, and the green one is the stem bark decoction, right? So it shows the significant result. Even the stem bark also showed the sufficient result in the average edema in control in the trial groups, especially in the PAI edema, Caragen-induced PAI edema. So after 3 years, it was evaluated, and both root bark as well as stem bark shows the significant result. And statistically also it showed the very good result. So the stem bark and root bark having the very good result in the reducing the edema. So the root bark and stem bark of Shionaga provide significant anti-inflammatory activity. Hence, in the place of root bark, stem bark can be substituted. However, clinical studies should be carried out to prove the same. So this was the conclusion given by us for that research conducted in the IPGT-RA, Jamnagar. Okay, so and one more quotation also I want to remind here, that Siddha Bheshja Manimala, there is one text is mentioned clearly. So if the Prayoja Anga is the root, so all the plant, all the material, all the parts in the plant will have the some particular chemical constituents and the effect also. For example, the Shionaka root bark is the Shotakara property, means even the root bark also will have the Shotakara property, even the leaves also will have the Shotakara property, and all other plant part also will have the Shotakara property. So this is mentioned by the Siddha Bheshja Manimala text. We can get the reference. So instead of using the root bark, definitely we can use the stem bark, and we have to use the stem bark, and we should not adulterate. At least we will get some result if we are using, instead of using the Prayoja Anga of root bark, we can use the stem bark, we will get the result. So if you are adulterate with some any other material, so definitely we won't get the result. Okay, so by this I'm concluding this session. Thank you for the opportunity. Unmute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful session, sir. Started with the Kadurasa, and in between how to cultivate those things, and practically you have shown all the pictures and explained very well, sir. That was a mind-blowing session, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Participants can raise the question in the chat box. Actually, the session was too good. So all are eagerly waiting for the cultivation, it seems. So there is no question.
Definitely. Yes. And the next session, at least I expect some photographs. So at least some of our delegates, I have cultivated these plants, are like I'm expecting some photographs. We'll see.
Sure. They will post, I hope, sir. Okay,
definitely. Good.
If there is any question, you can WhatsApp to the Ask Ayush number, and queries will be answered via WhatsApp.
Yeah, I thought to share one more video. Just a minute,
please.
New method of cultivation of Dashamula. Hi friends, in this video I would like to discuss about a new method of cultivation of Dashamula. Namaste, I am Dr. Jikku Ilyas Benny. As we all know, in Ayurveda, as medicinal purpose, Dashamula has a keen role. To conserve money, space and time, and to ensure quality, we can adopt this method of cultivation of Dashamula, which was made into practice by Kerala Forest Research Institute. In this video, we can see how to prepare Dashamula in less space within a short span of time, within 2 years, and with very cost-effective method. This video is made to propagate the new and easy method of Dashamula cultivation developed by scientists of KFRI PG. For this method, take a PVC pipe with 1 meter length and 10 centimeter diameter and cut it into 2 equal halves like this through the middle of the pipe. Dashamula plays a pivotal role in the management of various diseases in Ayurveda. Nowadays, we get only very less Dashamula. Why? Because the demand is more and availability is less. So that we only get adulterated Dashamula. For collecting Dashamula, actually we are collecting the root from trees of 20-year-old. So that the availability is very less nowadays. For that, Kerala Forest Research Institute PG developed a new method of cultivation of Dashamula as a solution. Coming back to the procedure, here you can see we divided the PVC pipe lengthwise into 2 equal halves. Please make hole over this area and over the upper side. We can make hole like this method or any other convenient method. We are making holes to rejoin both the PVC pipes which we divided. We can use a binding wire or string to rejoin this. This method helps us at the time of collection of roots. It is a very easy method for the collection. Please ensure the holes made are at same level. Then tie both the halves using a binding wire as shown. At the time of collection after 2 years, unwinding the string helps us to separate root from soil. Find a convenient place to fix the PVC pipe in a vertical position with adequate support. Here I am placing the pipe within the soil, or you can use any other supportive measures like scaffolding. Then fill the pipe with manured soil. We can plant this on the top like this. Medicinal alkaloids in 2-year-old and 20-year-old root are same, proven by HPTLC studies in KFRI. Here you can see 2-year-old root planted at Wembley Ayurveda Hospital as a pilot study 2 years back. Hope you understood this video, the method of cultivation, new method of cultivation of Dashamula. In this method, within a short space, within a short time, within 2 years, and with a very low cost amount, we can cultivate and ensure quality. That is the most important thing, ensure quality of Dashamula. By this, you can start the cultivation of Dashamula and collect roots within 2 years, and you can store it as dried and use.
Okay, this is the HDST method. So already I told, high density short-term cultivation method. So this is used for the Dashamula. In the KFRI, they are successfully doing this project with the collaboration of NMPB, National Medicinal Plant Board. They are doing the tie-up and they are doing the cultivations like this.
Sir, there is a question. This is the method for only Dashamula or any others?
No,
any other plant or trees?
No, it is. There are so many methods are there. For example, the Shonaka, we have seen the seedling method. So seedling method, by seed only we can able to see by seed we are cultivating the method. Some other tissue culture method is also there. So this is the method, means in the short term we can get the yield. For example, so usually for the Shonaka and all, it will we can uproot only after 6 years. So by this method we can get it after 1 or 2 years we will get the yield. So that is the benefit of this short term high density method, cultivation method.
Sir, how we can cultivate the Shatavari? Same method, or we can hang the PVC pipe?
Yes, can be adopted. Can be adopted this method. So why? Because we can prevent from the weedling also. So weed also, it won't come. This is a better method. So we can, other plant also we can utilize. The same method, the
Yes, sir.
HDST method can be adopted.
We can collect the roots and we can grow plant as.
Yes, yes, it can be possible. We can utilize this. This is one method, that's it. Like how we are putting the seeds and we are germinating, this is one method. And how the tissue culture they are doing, this is one method, cultivation method. This can be adapted for most of the plants, it can be adapted.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. For next class, all will be posted
Definitely, I'm expecting. Yeah,
starting of their cultivation.
yeah, at least some tulsi cultivation I'm
Yes,
expecting. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. We can expect with the hopes, sir.
Thank you.
Then we can conclude our session. If there is any queries and cultivation, you can contact the IAS Ayush anytime. And Sammik Bishajah Shlachano Bru Bishajam Sadhu Danam Badram Agamashinam Abhyasta Karmana Badram Badram Badrabilashinam Ano Badra Kratavo Yanishvata as told in Upanishad. Let the noble thoughts come from each side of us and motivate us, grow us. Now it's the time for announcement. Actually, our IAS is conducting awareness program called as Anarkum Arogi, and every Saturday evening 6 p.m. And this Saturday 29/2020, there's a session on Kudalpun and Draipun, Vaitrupun, the ulcer, duodenal ulcer or stomach ulcer. It is done by Dr. Karthikeyan, BAMS, MS Psychology, and he is the Chief Physician of KK Ayurveda Clinic. Hope you can attend the session. This session will be in Tamil, and the next session is our IAS Ayush scientific session, Ayurveda learning session. And this week we're having an eminent personality on the topic some common pediatric ailments and Ayurvedic management by Dr. Hemalata N. Potte, BAMS MD Ayurveda, Assistant Professor, HOD Kaumara Bharati, Amrita School of Ayurveda on Sunday, 6 p.m. 27/9/2020. Enjoy both the sessions and grow your knowledge. By this, we are concluding our today's session. We will meet the next session. Thank you. Have a nice day.